Hello humans! Today I wanted to talk about this guy right here, a General Supply Goods & Co. fountain pen. Incredibly simple packaging. It was manufactured for Staples, which is where I happened to pick this up, and other than that, the only piece of information that I'm getting about this is it has black ink, which, fair enough. Let's see if we can open it up. We have the sort of display carton in a box style packaging. Recycle this. Cut out your plastic first, depending on where you live. Sometimes they care about that. Where I live, they absolutely care about that. And then we have this sort of cardboard insert. There we go. Oh, that's stretchy. I didn't realize this was stretchy. I thought it was corded in there, but had a little stretchy bit. I could have just pulled it out. Instead, I disassembled the extra piece of cardboard. Recycled this as well. And then, very, very quickly, we are to the pen itself. It comes with absolutely nothing else. Right away, we have this sort of orangey plastic to blue to a piece of steel to orangey plastic again with a steel cap. The weight on the cap is actually quite noticeable. And we have this nice folded sort of pocket clip with the General Supply logo on it. So that's not what I was supposed to be doing. I'm assuming that's so that you can refill or switch out your ink. Is this just a pull cup? It is. Okay. So the lid is just a simple pull. And then we have this nice little, that is actually quite a nice looking nib. So let me get up to the camera here. You can see it says Genus Iridium on it. I'm not entirely sure why. And it has some nice little aesthetic flares. This is a simple ballpoint pen, a nice little introductory into ballpoint pens if you're looking for like your first point of contact realistically, because this is a nice little $40 pen. Apologies, I'm just getting my notebook ready. In terms of weight, a lot of the weight of the pen, without the cap on especially, is right back here. I'm assuming that's part of the ink, whatever they have going on for the ink. Puts a lot of the weight towards the back of my hand, and does it post? It doesn't really post. Like, it'll go on there, but it's not stuck by anything. So it's just sort of friction fit on the end there. So I'm assuming it's not supposed to post, which means you just have this cap running around when you're writing, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. I would have liked some type of like little click in there, which we're not getting, which is a little bit annoying, but not world ending. And you have these little scallop sections in order to, I'm assuming, yeah, in order to grab when you're writing, which is a nice little physical indicator. And if you have a hard time writing, like I know some people have a very, very hard time gripping pens and doing that. So having these nice little scallop sections is sort of like those ergonomic overserts you can put on regular pencils, which is quite nice feeling. It is, they are actually nice, comfortable little scallops. So, I don't know how, coming with absolutely no instructions means that I'm not entirely sure if I'm supposed to do anything in order to get the ink to work, or if it's supposed to have ink already. So I'm assuming it's supposed to have ink already because it did say black ink, but, oh, there we are. Aha. Okay, so I'm assuming what I do is I take this little cartridge and I impale it on the little point on the inside of the nib. If I'm wrong about that, I'm about to create a mess. Thread it back in. Maybe it's working now. give it a minute to flow through maybe. In case you can't tell, I do not play with these very often. Okay, so that did not in fact work. Not entirely sure how else I'd be doing this. It's not going to push on there. I'm fairly certain it's going to have something to do with this. So, oh, there we go. That feels like it snapped into place. The nice thing about this is I'm assuming that means that I can buy those refills somewhere and just drop in replacement refills when they run out, which that's nice. There we go. All right. And we are now fountain penning. That actually makes a really nice... So, for somebody who doesn't experience fountain pens very often, the immediate thing that I'm noting is that this writes significantly better than any gel tip that I've ever had before. It writes very much on par to some of the more sort of nice pens and nice inserts that I've had, rollerball inserts and such. But, you know, you can do the standard things. You can vary, depending on how fast you want to write, you can vary your line thickness just a little bit. And varying the amount of pressure that you put is also going to vary sort of the saturation that your line gets. You can see it flares out just a little bit. And you can get your chicken scratch by writing with the backside as you normally would be able to. Oh, that is very, very nice, actually. Hello. How do you spell world? Something like that. It's been a long day. I'm sorry. I'm filming this at like 3 a.m. after school and work, so I'm very, very slightly tired. But in terms of writing, it's nice. A common issue that I have seen with other ballpoint pens, or not ballpoint, with other fountain pens, is that if you write quickly, you will sometimes end up sort of moving faster than the ink flow will allow. And I'm not usually capable of writing quick enough. I actually don't write very quickly. But I am interested in seeing if I'll be able to get this one here to do it. No, actually. So if you end up twisting it a little bit in your hand, it writes significantly worse. You can see a little bit on the end of my F and in my I and L's there for ill. All, not ill, all. But the scallop actually makes it significantly easier to find the paper. Like, it's a lot easier to write on it when you're pre-indexed like that, which is actually making this a much more pleasurable experience overall. Yeah, that's incredibly nice. So like most of the pens that I buy, I actually bought this one here to play with as an EDC pen. Ooh, that snaps nicely. My everyday EDC pen is, of course, my Finex T5 Tie, which is this guy right here. And it's a really nice pen. I have no complaints. I get different inserts for it. It's currently running purple ink, gel ink on rollerball, which works quite well. But there's two things that I am not a huge fan of with it. The first one is it's a very, very tactically inspired pen, as you can see, which day to day is not a huge deal. But if I'm doing something along the lines of going to a market, farmer's market, something along those lines, and I'm trying to sell stuff, when I need to write down, having a tactical pen sends a little bit of the wrong message. And the other thing I'm not a huge fan of is the fact that it is a threaded cap. Not the end of the world. It's not a very long threading on the thread, but it is still a threaded cap, which can be a little bit annoying especially if I only have one hand, like if I'm holding on to something that I need to draw on for a client, or if I'm, doing work on my welding notebook and I'm holding it in one hand, I'm holding a hot piece of metal or a warm piece of metal and I'm trying to write, having a pen cap that I can just sort of pop off and put down is a lot easier than having to unthread one, which is just a convenience thing, right? And so having this very, very satisfying and fairly strong cap is very, very nice. This obviously isn't going to become like a work pen for me or a daily pen for me, but again, if I'm at a festival, if I'm trying to sell stuff, if I'm chatting with potential clients, having a nice, showy, and a little bit aesthetic pen does do good work. And I personally really like the look of the pen. Having this sort of softer orange and this nice blue barrel with a little bit of texturing to it, visible texturing to it nonetheless, is quite nice. This is something that is very, very much a accessory. It's not showy, it's not going to steal the scene, but it looks nice and it's presentable if I need to be in an environment where, maximum tactical pens aren't the way to go. Again, I don't have tons of experience writing with fountain pens, but I found that a very, very enjoyable experience compared to the other pens in this price range that I have experienced. This was a $40 pen, which tells you what you need to manage your expectations. Mostly plastic construction, but it doesn't feel cheap plastic construction. It is still a nicer plastic, which I do quite like. My big drawback so far is not being able to post the cap. Or not really being able to post the cap. You can do it, but it's clearly not designed to go there, especially compared to that really nice snap in a position you get putting the cap over top. I do find that a little bit disappointing, I'm not going to lie, but it is not the end of the world. And that would be my one major drawback to this guy so far. Keep in mind, this is very, very much first impressions, but so far everything I'm seeing has impressed me quite a bit. The other thing that I'm going to notice that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of is, okay, it's not bad when you have it. There are certain positions where if you twist it, the edge of this barrel there is actually slightly over, or the body is slightly over this ring, which is a little bit annoying. It's not every position, but there is one or two where it does show up, which I'm actually, that's a problem as far as I'm concerned. But once you have it to where you can't feel it anymore, it completely disappears, and then you just have this nice little texturing, fits nicely in your hand. I am quite a fan. So real quick, let's do some size comparisons. We're going to start off closed. Here it is, obviously next to my Finex T5 Ti and my Stillform Eon. So as you can see, it is very, very much comparable size to both of them. It is ever so slightly longer than the Eon is, and it is near exact the same size as the Finex, which makes quite a bit of sense. This is technically not a pen, it is a pencil. And these two would be competing for similar roles. Having the pocket clip, though, is definitely a nice little addition. Up next, we have this Gray Matter wooden metal pen that I picked up a little bit ago. And a regular number 2 pencil. As you can see, once again, it is much more comparable in size to the pen. It is actually a little bit longer than the pen is, but without its cap, it is significantly shorter, which is more or less what you'd expect. And of course, it's quite a bit shorter than the pencil, but everybody knows what a pencil looks like, so that makes it an easy comparison. In terms of size in the pocket, as you can see, it is extraordinarily comparable to the Finex. And if we were to put it up next to a Zippo, it is quite similar thickness, slightly thinner, but not significantly thinner than the Zippo is. So it will fit very, very nicely into your pocket. The fold-over clip is okay. It has a solid amount of springiness, but I would question its strength. It doesn't look like a very strong pen clip, and I know lots of pen clips aren't, but because this isn't a work pen, it doesn't necessarily need to be very strong. So there is that to consider. Overall, I would say this is very easy to recommend if you're looking for sort of a nicer pen that you can actually clip into your pocket. I can't speak to how it compares to lots of other fountain pens or how a fountain pen should feel, but I personally really enjoyed writing with it for that quick moment there. And other than the weird cartridge that I didn't know how to do, which is definitely a flaw with me not having much experience with fountain pens, especially less expensive fountain pens, I quite like this. I think it's a very, very classy little piece. I think it's going to make a nice accent to outfits when I'm smoozing clients. And I would say this is a very, very recommendable object if you are interested in getting into either EDC fountain pens or just fountain pens in general. I think this is a very, very pleasant first point of contact that you might look back on in 5 years and go, so it doesn't really compare to most things, but compared to most pens that I've felt, it's nice. And that's including rollerballs, that's including all of the other types of pens that I've dealt with. I like this. I don't have anything really more to say. I do consider this a recommendable pen. It is quite nice. I like the aesthetic. Stay safe and have fun out there. Peace.